In Mpumalanga, police discovered a suspected military training base in White River, arresting 95 foreign nationals who are now identified as Libyans. The operation involved collaboration between the police, provincial joint structures, and the Department of Home Affairs. The provincial spokesperson, Colonel Donald, stated the police commissioner Major General Zef Mukwananzi met with the provincial joint structures on Wednesday, 24 July, after receiving intelligence about the camp. This led to a coordinated raid on Friday, 26 July. The site intended for security training had allegedly been converted into an unauthorized military base. The detainees, all Libyan nationals, are currently undergoing interrogation by the relevant authorities. Stay tuned for more information on this topic. Welcome back to the Fraud News channel. I'm your host, Boss Robert. Thank you to those who have already subscribed, and to those who haven't, please show your brother some love. Back to the story. In Mpumalanga, police arrested 95 Libyan nationals at a suspected illegal military training camp on a farm in White River. The Libyan had entered South Africa in April on study permit, claiming that they were training to become security guards, with plans to return home in December. Upon raiding the farm, the police found the men housed in military tents and discovered military training equipment, licensed firearms, and various drugs, including marijuana and cocaine. Mpumalanga MEC for the Community Safety and Security, Jackie Messi, expressed concern over the discovery, highlighting it as a significant security threat. Jackie noted that the suspects violated the Immigration Act and the conditions on their visas and suggested potential connection to other secret military bases in the province. The operation involves SEPS, provincial joint structures, and the Department of Home Affairs, Police Intelligence, and Private Security Industry Regulatory Authority was initiated after surveillance by police intelligence. National Police spokesperson Brigadier Mate confirmed the farm's status as an accredited training institution, while National Police Commissioner General Fanny Masemola emphasized the importance of investigating the activities on the farm to ensure public safety and security. Let us listen to the following videos to gain a better context on this matter.
This is, of course, following the discovery of an illegal military camp in White River. Police have decided against detaining the trainer of the 95 Libyans who were found at the camp. Now, while the Libyan nationals have been charged with contravention of the Immigration Act, police say they have no evidence to charge the trainer as yet. Aldrin Simpier joins us from Mganduzweni. Aldrin, a good morning to you. This is definitely one of the more concerning stories that we're looking at. Many people asking the question, how were these people able to set up this military camp without law enforcement knowing, and certainly what the views of the community have been?
Yeah, and here's the thing about this area, Naledi. I'm just going to quickly step out of shot. Just look at this area. It is a village here in Mpumalanga, unassuming. And right at the end of this village, right at the foot of the mountains, you have where there is this military camp that has been there for some time now. But the community members here understood that it is a security training facility, but police say when they arrived there yesterday, following the information that they've received and also the cooperation that they've been receiving from intelligence as well as Home Affairs eventually, is that they found out that this is actually an illegal military training camp, and the people around here didn't know about this. They know about security companies that have had some of their security officers being trained here, like for instance SBV, that's one of the security companies that they are mentioning. But now the shocking information that came out yesterday is, of course, that this is an illegal military training facility.
But when we went inside, we could see bunkers, we could see trenches, things that you would actually see at the military base. That's what we saw yesterday, and that's why the police actually came here and then clamped down on this operation here, and also closed the operation when arresting all of those 95 Libyan men and taking them to various police stations. We understand some of them have been taken to White River, and also some of them have been taken to Masoyi police station. You'd understand this has raised concern, especially for communities, especially for Masoyi communities, because they've been saying that they've been terrorized by a community of people that they don't know their origins, people that don't speak English, that they have been coming to their communities and also committing crimes. The police are saying they're investigating cases of rape and also other cases of assault in the community, but they're saying that communities have also been saying that there also been petty crimes that has been happening also in the community, where people's cell phones have been taken away from them. Also, those are some of the issues that the community has actually been complaining about. We are waiting for the police actually to take us inside just to see the aftermath of what happened here yesterday when those 95 men were arrested and taken away from this premises. They were taken away with all their belongings, but they did leave some of their belongings. We saw yesterday they left some of their belongings. When we were going inside this
So this is the board that we have here, Milites Dei Security Services. That's the name of the company. The academy is called Milites Dei Academy Security City Specialized Security Training. And if you look at the board right here below, you'll see a familiar logo, the South African Police Service. So if they have a South African Police Service logo here, how come the South African Police Service didn't know what is happening behind the boom gates of this entry here? We will be speaking to the police commissioner as well as the police minister when they arrive a bit later on to better understand exactly what information they have at their disposal and why it is they've taken so long. And I remember yesterday, for instance, you spoke to Atlanta Mate, the brigadier, who's the spokesperson for the police, and I found that she wasn't able to explain why there was this delay in the 4 months that these men were allegedly being trained here at this alleged military camp. Why is it only that the police found out about it about 2 weeks ago, and then about 2 days ago, we understand there was that operation between the police intelligence as well as Home Affairs. And for now, as it stands, they're only charged with the contravention of the Immigration Act of the country. No other charges have been conferred on them. And then you go back again to the website and you look at some of the military training that they offered. I actually posted a video on my exhibit earlier on, and some people indicating that this is clearly military training that takes place here. The academy, we did speak to them a bit earlier on. They did say that they will be releasing a statement through their lawyers. They will not be speaking to the media. We're still waiting for that statement to be issued by this company.
And also, Aldrin, that statement by PSiRA raises more questions than it attempts to answer them, because they say that this facility, the MDSS, is actually registered with PSiRA, and then a line down, then they say they instructed MDSS to immediately cease all training activities and has deployed its inspectorate to physically inspect the premises to ensure compliance. You've already licensed them. Presumably, they met whatever requirements there are for a structure like this to operate. And then you arrive with the police and everyone else, and then you decide to instruct them to cease activities.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about it, Vuyo, again, which goes back to the point that I was raising, which is that they've only been charged, for instance, with the contravention of the Immigration Act. Home Affairs is saying that as far as they're concerned right now, that is the only charge. And if the police feel that there are more charges that they want to prefer against these individuals, the individuals will remain in the country up until the police decide whether they want to bring more charges against these particular individuals.
This is so huge that it could have been going on since April without the police or law enforcement agencies detecting it. So it's very concerning. And I think that someone is behind this. So we are still scratching the surface in terms of understanding what is really behind this story.
And then, Martin, maybe just give us a complete outline of what types of threats to our national security this actually represents, if this was indeed a military training camp.
So you have foreigners training on South African soil. We don't know what they are training for. And I think that's the critical question. We don't know what they are training for. Are they training to fight in South Africa? Are they terrorist training in South Africa? Are they organized crime syndicate training in South Africa? Are they warriors, warlords training in South Africa to fight South Africa? So these are questions that we really need to understand. And when you are sending someone into the country, or when Home Affairs is allowing someone to come into the country, they need to do this background check to make sure that the country is secure, because that's the first line of security, the first line of defense for South Africa. So when we miss things at the borders, and when we don't get the right reason why people are coming into this country, we expose millions of South Africa to the danger of these individuals. And we already know that these individuals, while conducting this training, were committing petty crimes in the street.
Very interesting indeed, Martin. I mean, back to your earlier point there, this issue of the issuance of visas as well as Home Affairs is also a topic on its own, considering that the department in itself is currently mired in various scandals involving some of its officials. So a drug lab also worth millions right next to where this military camp, or not far from it, was just discovered last week. And it is suspectedly run also by illegal foreign nationals, not just from Africa this time, but from other parts of the world.
Indeed, these are the questions that we are asking, that all of these things being discovered in the same, almost the same place, one could say. And again, it concerns foreigners. And we know that there are always South Africans behind some of these foreigner problems. So what we need to do, I think now, is that law enforcement agencies need to thoroughly investigate this issue to see how these people got these visas. Why didn't they declare exactly what they were coming to do in South Africa? Who was behind them? Who actually, because there must be a host in South Africa to facilitate the issuance of the visa. So Home Affairs must have been acting on the legitimate application of South Africans who are here, legitimate entities in South Africa that backed the issuance of these visas, which were issued to these individuals. We need...
Yes, the eyes and the ears of the community are very important to our intelligence services. It's not all James Bond characters infiltrating with groups of foreigners who come in. It can be as simple as someone at the local spaza shop saying, hey, this was interesting. There were 3 coachloads of people, none of whom spoke English, who have now gone to one particular farm down the road. And then the intelligence people will go and have a quiet look to see what's going on.
Yeah. Part of our team of producers here, I do understand that there was a message put out to the Department of Home Affairs to get a sense of exactly that. But all reference was made to the South African Police Service, who are of course investigating the matter at this particular stage. They will speak a bit later on. But where should the blame be put here? It could be, of course, we don't know yet. We're yet to hear. I'm sure that the police will speak on whether they're here legally or illegally. What is the status regarding the presence of those Libyans here? That we'll get much later on. But where should we be placing the blame here? The sense that I'm getting is that there's a lot of people who are uncomfortable with what has really happened, and they certainly have cause for that. And can we link some of these groups? And I don't want to suggest that indeed it is so. Information is still very sketchy at this particular stage until later on today. But do we link these groups to organized crime that has been taking place? Or am I jumping the gun here?
All right, well, there are a couple of factors involved here. As I said, if some American security staff had come to this country, they would have applied for the correct visas based on training. There would be a proper schedule set up for training. Everything would have been, I wouldn't say in the open, because it would be commercially confidential how they do the training, etc. But that would not raise any flags. Now, to do that, we had an instance about 4 or 5 years ago where we brought a group of people from the United Kingdom through here for training because they could not have private firearms training in the UK, because you cannot have private ownership of handguns and assault rifles, etc., in the UK. So we were part of facilitating bringing them here. And it was a fairly straightforward procedure to organize a certified training program and to get the visas issued. I think it took about 2 weeks. And those people came here legally, they did their training, and then they left. There was no threat to the country, and there was no reason why anybody should get upset about it. There was nothing illegal.
Yeah.
What could be the case here, and we're still waiting to hear from the authorities, would be, was the correct procedure followed for these people to obtain visas to come here to do legal training in accordance with the various acts that cover it.
Yeah.
If that was the case, I would say there's really no risk to South Africa because they will be returning home to do whatever it is they're doing. There could be a political implication if the organizations that brought them out here did not go through the correct diplomatic channels. I bring up, for instance, the ANC support of the Palestinians at the moment. The Libyans are also going through a very difficult time politically, and it would depend on which group these 95 people attended to. There's a prime minister in Libya, his name's something like debacle, who, as far as I understand, would not be given political sanction in this country to send people for training. If it was him, then there could be political implications. If it was the other president, I'm afraid I can't remember what his name is at the moment, there would not be political implications.
Yeah.
An important detail that one may miss is that these suspects are purported to be Libyan nationals, and Libya was the home of Gaddafi, who reigned for 42 years until he was killed during a civil unrest in 2011. Here's a sample of the footage.
Muammar Gaddafi toppled a king to seize power. He outmaneuvered his opponents for 40 years, and in one of his final TV appearances, he pretended to play chess with a Russian envoy. Many thought he was deluded, eccentric, but he was cunning enough to hold on to power long after many dictators had been overthrown. He went from international pariah to Western ally. But the new relationship didn't last, and British bombs helped drive him out of power. Colonel Gaddafi called himself brother leader after coming to power in 1969 in a military coup. He was just 27 when he deposed King Idris. He went on to invent a new political philosophy, Jamahiriya, a strange mix of socialism, nationalism, Islam, and his own ideas. In reality, he was just another brutal dictator. He quashed dissent at home and abroad. In 1984, his agents fired at a demonstration outside the Libyan embassy in London. WPC Yvonne Fletcher was killed. It was one incident among the many which led President Reagan to dub him the Mad Dog. The colonel sponsored terrorism around the world, arming, among others, the IRA, the PLO, and Peru's Shining Path movement. In 1986, the US bombed Gaddafi's Tripoli compound in revenge for Libya's role in the attack on a Berlin nightclub which had killed 2 American servicemen. 2 years later, 270 people were killed when a Pan Am passenger jet blew up over Lockerbie. 2 Libyan agents were charged, and on the eve of the trial in Scotland, Sky's James Matthews posed the question which has still not been answered.
Were the 2 men, as has been reported, acting under direct orders from you?
Despite never admitting Libya's guilt, the regime took responsibility and paid compensation in order to get years of sanctions lifted. Things changed. Tony Blair came to visit. Gaddafi gave up his weapons of mass destruction.
I mean, this is something that is good in terms of acting against terrorism, good for our 2 countries in terms of defence, and also good for business too.
The man jailed for the Lockerbie bombing, Abdelbaset al-Megrahi, was released by the Scottish Government on compassionate grounds. Gordon Brown denied a deal had been done with the colonel, but the decision angered the White House. When protests over his rule broke out, the colonel's reaction was instinctive. Ruthless acts of suppression, and then, as the rebellion grew, absolute defiance. He called those opposing him rats and vowed to hunt them down, street by street, house by house, and zenga zenga, zenga zenga, alleyway to alleyway. Thawra, thawra. With Benghazi about to be overrun, a UN resolution paved the way for international military intervention. When NATO started bombing, he could never win. The rats he vowed to pursue began to close in on him. It took 6 months, and while NATO bombed, foreign forces trained the rebels. Eventually, they made a triumphant entry into the capital, Tripoli.
It's absolutely crazy in the centre of Green Square. There are hundreds of people here celebrating, shooting their guns up into the air, which is on account of the noise, and they just want to celebrate. They're tearing down green flags, they're shooting at Colonel Gaddafi posters. That's the sign that they all make when they talk about Colonel Gaddafi right now. But there is really a feeling of victory, really, celebration and victory.
The 69-year-old ex-dictator was reduced to ranting audio messages in which he insisted he would prevail. The next time a British Prime Minister visited Libya, it was to celebrate his part in Gaddafi's downfall. David Cameron and French President Nicolas Sarkozy were greeted as heroes. Pictures and the statues were hauled down throughout the country, but for 6 weeks the man himself proved elusive. Now the people who once lived in terror of his regime have their final retribution.
It is also reported that Libya remains engulfed in human rights violations and abuses by armed groups and militias as political elites compete for legitimacy and territorial control nearly 12 years after the fall of Gaddafi. Eastern and Western Libyan authorities are clamping down on civic activities, harassing NGO staff and imposing visa obstacles for non-Libyans. Libya's political landscape is marked by two rival administrations: the Tripoli-based Government of National Unity, GNU, which has been recognized by the African Union, and the Eastern Government of Stability, National Stability, GNS, which is purported to be linked to terrorist groups. Elections have not been held appropriately in Libya since 2014 due to the disagreement over the constitutional framework. Armed conflict continues, with significant incidents in Tripoli, Zawiya, and Benghazi, including forced evictions and demolitions by the Libyan Arab armed forces. Mass graves are still being uncovered in Taouna, and unexploded artillery and landmines pose ongoing risk as exacerbated by recent floods. The presence of foreign fighters and mercenaries, including the Wagner Group, persists despite 2020 ceasefire. Let us watch the following videos to give more context on this matter.
تفيد التقارير أن أكثر من 200 شخص ما زالوا في عداد المفقودين، الأمر الذي يتسبب في معاناة لا توصف لعائلاتهم الذين يحق لهم معرفة حقيقة مصير أحبائهم.
Human rights chief said that his office was following up on reports of a mass grave in the desert along the Libya-Tunisia border. This is after the bodies of at least 65 migrants were found at another site in March this year. Volker Turk has denounced widespread violations against migrants and refugees in Libya and called on Libyan authorities to investigate the crimes. He gave no further details of the suspected identity of the mass grave victims or how the site was found.
This warlord has had the backing of both the West and Russia, and now he's at the center of a global battle for influence. So who is Libya's powerful militia leader, Khalifa Haftar? He was a former general in dictator Muammar Gaddafi's army before he joined a CIA-backed campaign against him. After Gaddafi's death, Haftar carried out a military campaign to consolidate power, bringing in Russian mercenaries from the Wagner Group for help. Today, Haftar controls much of eastern Libya, and over time, he's helped Wagner reach deeper into Africa. That has allowed Moscow to seize on instability across the Sahel, where coup supporters welcome Russia's help. U.S. officials have been pressing Haftar to expel Wagner and create a buffer against that instability. But as WSJ reports, Haftar is now in talks with Russian officials who want access to Libyan ports in the Mediterranean, a deal that could give Moscow more control over a key energy corridor and pose a threat to NATO countries nearby in the future.
Given this context, it is understandable why these 95 suspects, and possibly more, are in South Africa for military training. This could be related to political activities in Libya or something larger, with some suspecting links to terrorist groups like ISIS. Only time will tell. We shall wait for the investigation to take their course and unravel the mystery shrouding these suspicious military training activities. Whilst on that note, a former SEPS officer, Patricia Morgan Mashale, suggests that she knew about the illegal military camps for some time and had reported the issue to the then Minister of Police, Bekele, and to the then Deputy Minister of State Security in the President, Zizi Kodwa, who is also currently in court for issues related to state capture corruption. Zizi Kodwa resigned as a Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture before the elections, but was later reinstated by the Ramaphosa administration as a Member of Parliament. But just a few moments as a Member of Parliament, he resigned again from the Parliament, citing the decision to deploy him into the National Assembly had been poorly thought through and ill-considered. This caused a bit of confusion within the ranks of ANC, with issues like application of the step-aside rule being debated. The legitimacy of the current administration was also questioned. This led President Ramaphosa to say,
"It's important, Honorable Malema, that as we debate, we should play the ball and not the man. Now, you spent a considerable amount of time playing me, the man. What is important in building this country is to play the ball of development."
Furthermore, the allegation by Patricia Morgan Mashale that Bekele and Zikodwa knew about the illegal military camps in South Africa raises more questions than answers. Yet still, given that the illegal military camp in Mpumalanga was duly registered with various agencies such as SEPS and PSiRA, also suggests that what we currently know is just the tip of the iceberg. Let us hear what Patricia Morgan Mashale says in her own words about the illegal military camps in South Africa.
But you never stopped whistleblowing, not when you were in hiding, not before you went into hiding, not when you came out of hiding. Now, last week I thought of you when 95 Libyans were arrested at a so-called secret military training camp. What did that remind you of, Patricia?
It reminded me of April 2022, when me and my husband, George Mashale, handed over 2 flash drives to the former Deputy Minister of SSA, Zizi Kodwa, regarding those illegal military training camps that was apparently all over the country. Before we handed over the memory cards to him, we also reported it to the former National Commissioner, General Sithole. General Sithole sent the late General Mfazi to Bloemfontein to come and get the information. When Mfazi arrived here, he didn't want information. He wanted the details of the source. That's when we told him that we will never give him the details of the sources, because we know that's our sources. We must take them, and we know what happened to sources. And then that's when we contacted the Office of the President. I wrote emails to the Office of the President, and then Zizi Kodwa called. He called, and he said that he was sent by the President and he wanted to meet with us to get the information. So he came to Bloemfontein, met with us, and we gave him the flash drive. And then he said that on instructions of the President, they are going to establish a task team who are going to work on this information. And indeed, he sent this task team that we didn't know what was the intentions at the time, to come and get more information. It was September 2021 when I handed my phone over to them voluntarily to download the files on my phone. And then it seems like they struggle to download my file because my security on my phone is very complicated. So it seems like they might struggle, but now I realize they could never download the files. But because I got a disposal order for my phone on our last appearance in court, the previous appearance in court, and I fetched my phone from the police station. And then I realized that all the messages that I sent to Becky Tele regarding this unlawful military camps were deleted. Because Becky Tele didn't have a WhatsApp, I sent him SMSs. So only the messages, SMSs, that I sent to Becky Tele was deleted from my phone.
Well, it was in the custody of state security.
While it was in the custody of state security, that was when I handed it over voluntarily to them. So I never realized that the SMSs were deleted. Remember, shortly after that, in October, my phone was confiscated by the former Colonel Panamerva, who's now a brigadier. He got promoted after he confiscated my phone. So he confiscated my phone, and my phone was in the possession of SAP since October 2021 until I got it about 2 months ago. When I went through my phone, when I received it recently, that's when I realized that all the messages that I sent to Becky Tele was deleted, the SMS. But the SMSs that I sent to Sitole was still there. It's still there on my.
So when you tried to follow up to find out what they were doing with this information that you had passed on, what happened?
When I tried to follow up, Azizi Korwa blocked me. Remember, we met with this task team of his in September. They promised me, you are giving us the information, you are a whistleblower, and our duty is to protect. So in September, when this happened to me, when I was arrested by Panamera on my phone, I contacted Zizi Korwa immediately, and he blocked me. And I contacted the leader of this task team of his, and he told me long stories. Now he's waiting. I said, Zizi Korwa blocked me, and you were the people who promised me protection, and now you are blocking me. So after that, my phone was taken, so I never communicated with them.
Why do you believe that information that you had given up was not followed up?
It was not followed up. First and foremost, the emails that I have still a proof of the emails that I sent to the president. I sent to the president's PA. I still have the letter that I sent to the president. I believe it was not followed up because when I followed up with another person in the president's office, that person informed me that the president might have never received the information. So that's why I believe it was never followed up, because also there was never an investigation into the information that we gave to Zizi Korwa. If the president knows about it, then the president is complicit, because Zizi Korwa said the president sent it to get the president is aware of the information. The president sent him to get a flash drive. So if Zizi Korwa informed the president and the president also never acted, it means the president is complicit in what happened.
Now,
what does this mean for South Africa? If these 95 Libyans are found to be linked to a terrorist group that their training was facilitated by a politically connected or government official, this could have drastic consequences for South Africa. This is because aiding or supporting terrorist groups can lead to severe consequences, including international sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and potential military intervention. Such countries that support terrorist groups may face legal repercussions, including economic instability and loss of sovereignty, alongside human rights violations and damage to their global reputation. These actions can provoke eternal unrest and stringent counter-terrorism measures from other nations, severely impacting international relations, economic health, and overall stability of the country supporting terrorist groups. Let us hope this will not be the case for South Africa. Your opinions matter. Please share your thoughts and concern in the comment section below. If you found the video informative, please drop a like. If you have any suggestions, please type them in the comment section. If you have not yet subscribed to the Fraud News channel, please show your brother some love. click subscribe, please. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video. God bless you.